know I haven't given class for a few weeks, and Krishna is treating me really great by giving me this really nice, juicy verse. Of course, I had to snatch it and run. I had to do what we used to do as little kids. We go, I cops that. That means it's ours. We put the dibs on it. I dibs it. It just means like, it's mine. And I had to wrestle Maharaj for this verse. So that wasn't easy.
Did you need the microphone to make that broadcast?
No, we don't need the microphone for, and since we don't have one, it's perfect. It's right now in the state of transition.
I'll figure out a way to get you back.
Get me back? Oh, I'm sure it'll be okay. If it's this nectarine of a tussle, then it'll be fine. And I did offer to share with you because I really do want to hear your words of wisdom on the verse. It is a power-packed, really juicy verse. And sorry, I didn't bring my computer, so I'm going to do this here. Of course, I don't know what I'm doing with it, like you do, Adi. Oop, see what I mean? Okay. This verse it's a wonderful verse. It's Srimad Bhagawatam, Canto 3, and that's status quo, and it's chapter 16. We're just in the beginning of chapter 16, which is that the gatekeepers get cursed. Something, I don't have the title perfect, but it's something about the cursing of the gatekeepers, Jai and Vijay. And the verse we're doing is verse 4, and this is the crux of everything. If we could have this verse like over our consciousness all the time, we would be nicely situated. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 I want to thank everybody who's here. And I'm also thinking about Markandeya because we're having upcoming Lord Nityananda's Trayodasi, and he is our premium devotee of Lord Nityananda, so premier devotee of Lord Nityananda. So we'll start with Tad, Taha, Prasadayam Ya, Adya, Tadvaha Prasadayam Yadya, Brahma, Daivam, Param, Hi, Me, Brahma, Daivam, Param, Hi, Me, Tad Itya, Atmakritam, Manye, Tadityatma Kritam Manye, Yat, Svapumir, Asatkrita, Yat Svapumbir Asatkrita, Tadvai Prasadayam Yadya, Brahma Daivam Param Hime, Tadityatma Kritam Manye, Yatsvapumbir Sakrita, Tadvya Prasadayam Yadya, Brahma Daivam Param Hime, Tadityatma Kritam Manye, Yat Swapumbira Satkritaha Tadva Prasadyam Yadya Brahma Daivam Param Hime Tadityatma Kritam Manye Yat Swapumbira Satkritaha. Others?
Just
step on the center of the line.
Tadva Prasadyam Yadya Brahma Daivam Param Hime Tadityatma Kritam Manye Yat Swapumbira Satkritaha Tadva Prasadyam Yadya Brahma Daivam Param Hime Tadityatma Kritam Manye Yat Swapumbira Satkritaha Tadva Prasadyam Brahma Daivam Param Hime Tadityatma Kritam Manye Yat Swapumbira Satkritaha Tadva Prasadayam Yadya Brahma Daivam Param Hime Tadityatma Kritam Manye Yat Swapumbira Satkritaha Tat, therefore, Vaha, you sages, Prasadayami, I am seeking your forgiveness. Adya, just now. Brahma, the Brahmanas. Daivam, most beloved personalities. Param, highest. He, because. May, my. Tat, that offense. He, because. Iti, thus. Atmakritam, done by me. Manye, I consider. Yat, which. Swapumbi, by my own attendance. Asatkritaha, having been disrespected. This is really beautiful. It's down a notch. To me, the Brahmana is the highest and most beloved personality. The disrespect shown by my attendants has actually been displayed by me because the doormen are my servitors. I take this to be an offense by myself. Therefore, I seek your forgiveness for the incident that has arisen. Repeat after me. Now, this is the Lord is speaking. We just had, just to put the context of this, the Lord is, as Maharaj told us yesterday, he showed up with his goddess of fortune. She doesn't show herself very often, so it was like, huge display of darshan to the four Kumaras who had never seen the Lord before, never seen the lotus feet of the Lord, never had the darshan. They had Brahma Gyan, they were fully realized, but they hadn't had the darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead yet. So he shows up. And everyone's mind is like totally blown because wow, we're all praying for that, hoping for that, and when that happens, that is real enlightenment. So repeat after me. To me, the Brahman is the highest and most beloved personality.
The Brahman is the highest and most beloved personality.
The disrespect shown by my attendants has actually been displayed by me. Because the doormen are my servitors. I take this to be an offense by myself. Therefore I seek your forgiveness for the incident that has arisen. So just to get a little more of the context, is the four Kumaras they're eternally around 4 or 5 years old. They're brothers that decided they're great sages. They're totally self-realized sages, and they decided they were never going to grow up. Because along with growing up comes a huge amount of responsibility. It means, okay, their father said, you have to be the progenitor and create hundreds of offspring and maintain them, because that's our job right now, is to fill up the universe, and we're the first guys. They're the first sons of Brahma. So it's like, they just went, we want to become sages. We don't really want to get involved in this whole householder existence. And so they halted, because they had this Shakti, this mystic city. They could do that. They could just halt. They're like, everybody's looking for the fountain of youth. If you are self-realized, you can decide where exactly you want to stop your, I'm not going to age, I'm just going to be here at the age of 4 or 5. So they stayed in this condition. And their father was a little upset. It was the very first disobedience between father and son, and the first sons. So you see, this has been going on a long time. this whole thing about disobedience to the father. And again, we discussed it earlier that you can be disobedient to the father if he's telling you to do something that is actually maybe not going to be in your best interest for spiritual life. And that's the only way you can get away with that one. It's the only way. If you're being asked to do something that's very, very spiritual, like an example of this disobedience that we see was with Bali Maharaj and his guru. His guru said, when Vamanadev came, who was the dwarf incarnation of God, and he said, I want 3 steps of land, Sukracharya said, don't give it to him. Don't do it. He's Vishnu. He's going to take everything. And he was looking at him, so small, 3 steps. Why would you only do 3 steps? But he said, well, if he is Vishnu, that's great. Well, I'm going to disobey my spiritual master. So for spiritual advancement, you can get away with disrespecting your authorities. That's the only time at all. So in this particular instance, now these 3 young, eternally 4 or 5-year-old, they had been through 6 gates, and they passed all the grilling. I just went to the courthouse a couple days ago. I had to answer a whole bunch of questions, have my temperature taken, have the contents of my purse x-rayed, go through a metal detector. So they had some protocols. We have our protocols here, security and all kinds of screenings we have to go through to get into the inner sanctum of government. So here we are, the 4 Kumaras have gotten through 6 gates, and they're at the 7th gate, and it's like the gatekeepers, they become smug. They become smug, and this is out of character. They're like usually the coolest dudes. And usually the people who've gotten through 6 gates are like awesome anyway. They usually don't have much to do. But for some reason, as soon as they saw these 4 kids, they were like, who's not doing their job? How did these guys get here anyway? They're seeing the external. In the spiritual world, not a blade of grass, everywhere actually, in the material or spiritual world, not a blade of grass moves without the sanction of the Lord. He's fueling and energizing everything. But in the spiritual world in particular, it's all under the Yogamaya, or the internal potency of the Lord. So he sometimes stirs it up. Sometimes he's like, as it says in our last verse of Shikshashtakam, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me brokenhearted by not being present before me, still he's my worshipful Lord unconditionally. So the Lord stirs it up. He says, are you really going to surrender? Okay, we'll see. Here's a test. And the more surrendered you are, the more intense the tests are. And so here these 4 Kumaras got super indignant. How dare these gatekeepers? How dare they stop us? We have complete self-realization. You upstarts. And so they give them a curse. A big curse. And in the history of our movement, some years back, there was a huge debate about if anyone falls from Vaikuntha, if there's any chance. And there's even some book, not even the leaves fall from Vaikuntha, So, these things, it's like inconceivable potency of the Lord. Anything the Lord wants, he gets. Even if it breaks his own rules, he'll do it. We have an example of that when Grandfather Bhishma was testing Krishna, because Krishna promised he wouldn't take up any weapon in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, but Grandfather Bhishma knew to protect his devotee, he would even break that promise, so he did. So Krishna is one of those, he's a cheater of the cheats. He's God, he makes the rules, so he can break them. So one wonders, how does this operate? Well, there's the spirit of the law, the reason the law is intended, and then there's the law, the letter of the law. And the letter of the law goes a particular way. And that's like real, external, and very like hardboard, but it's like it has to be respected. To whatever degree, it has to be respected. But it cannot. The spirit of the law is far more important and authentic. And it's just like there's the way that a devotee looks. He looks like he's got his tilak on, he's got his devotional regalia on. And the way that the gatekeepers are looking at these 4 Kumaras, they couldn't have become so self-realized. They're looking so like kids. So they're looking at the external, that which is the letter of the law, and they're going, They're forgetting about the spirit of the law. And for all of us, at all times, there's the actual external doing of Krishna consciousness, and I better read the purport, I haven't even done that yet. It's the bhav, it's the feeling, it's the love. He doesn't need us to do anything, it's the love. If we're just robots, like my Bhakta Bhat does my vacuuming, of course he doesn't get in the corners. And, so I have to do that, get into the corners. But it's the bhav in which we do the thing, the perfection of the thing. So let's read Prabhupada's purport because it's the most important and his words are beautiful. The Lord is always in favor of the brahmanas and the cows, and therefore it is said, Go brahmana hitaya cha. Lord Krishna or Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is also the worshipable deity of the Brahmins. In the Vedic literature, in the Rig mantra hymns of the Rig Veda, it is stated that those who are actually Brahmanas always look to the lotus feet of Vishnu. Om Tad Vishnu Param Pada Sada Pashyanti Suryaha. Those who are qualified Brahmanas worship only the Vishnu form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which means Krishna, Rama, and all Vishnu expansions. A so-called Brahman who is born in the family of Brahmanas but performs activities aimed against the Vaishnavas cannot be accepted as a Brahman, because Brahmana means Vaishnav and Vaishnav means Brahmana. One who has become a devotee of the Lord is also a Brahmin. The formula is Brahman. Janatiti Brahmana. The Brahmana is one who has understood Brahman, and a Vaishnava is one who has understood the personality of Godhead. Now I'm going to just interject here because the Vaishnava is more. The 4 Kumaras were Brahman. They understood Brahma Gyan. They understood the essence. They had realized the Brahmajyoti, the Brahman realization of the great bright light and the effulgence of the Lord. They were impersonalists. But there's more to that. Because in our understanding, Krishna is Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Sat is eternal, Chit is full of knowledge, and Ananda is full of bliss. So the Sat aspect is the Brahmajyoti, or the effulgence, the bright light of the Lord. And the Chit aspect of the Lord is the Lord situated in each person's heart as Paramatma. And by that, he's like the internal, he knows everything that's going on everywhere simultaneously. And then the Ananda aspect is in the actual personality of Godhead. Full bliss is in that relationship of love. So we can be realized at different levels. We can be yogically like totally enlightened as far as being completely merged with the bright light and have that Brahmajyoti realization. We can even be Paramatma realized. But to develop the actual loving servant, or the relationship of loving service to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is another level. And so these beautiful young boys are they're being schooled by the Lord himself. So they're coming to the level of Vaishnav. And here they're saying, you can't be, your Vaishnav and Brahman are supposed to be the same. And they're making a point that Brahman and Vaishnava are the same. And it's something like a banyan tree is in that seed. The potential is fully there. Banyan seed, it's banyan. Can make so many trees. But then, Vaishnava has more. It's more of the bhav of love and service. So here, the Brahman realization is the beginning of realization of the personality of Godhead. One who understands the personality of Godhead also knows the impersonal feature of the Supreme, which is Brahman. Therefore, one who becomes a Vaishnava is already a Brahman. It should be noted that the glories of the Brahman described in this chapter by the Lord himself refer to his devotee Brahman, or the Vaishnava. It should never be misunderstood that the so-called Brahmanas who are born in Brahmin families but have no Brahminical qualifications are referred to in this connection. So Srila Prabhupada, he's explaining the similarity and the simultaneous oneness and the difference, Achinta Beta Beta Tattva, which is the core. If we boil our philosophy down to one line, it means that we are simultaneously one with and different than God. So to be simultaneously one with Brahman and different from God, so that loving relationship can develop. That super love, that bhav. It's like we can go through every kind of motion, but why are we really here? Every once in a while, like at Mangalartik the other morning, I got this glimpse of like it was on a different level for a second, It was like I hadn't been here because, was in Sutak. So it's like absence makes the heart grow fonder, So there I was in Mangalartik, and I felt like I was in heaven amongst the angels singing, and I was just like, oh, this is so wonderful. And I've watched Daniel, who isn't here today, like he'll walk to the front steps, and as soon as he'll go, he feels it. Something different here. It's a spiritual world. I used to make a joke like that it's like there's a certain aura of the temple and it radiates out a certain distance, and then all of a sudden the radio would go on. I'm like, the Maya zone just got hit, So there's this Dham, and there is a spirit of the Dham. And if we choose to enter into the spirit of the Dham, the love and the service and the joy of Krishna consciousness, we can. But we have to let go of our ego. And so the Lord is saying to these young men, hey, what just happened here? You got angry. And I'm asking you to do a little more. Yeah, you guys are cool. And he's gone on and glorified them in so many ways in the previous verses. But now I'm asking you that, they're mine, and the offense was made by me. I'm taking responsibility here. I'm not separating myself from my servants. This is about my will. And I really need you to just do a little bit more. Like I'm asking a little bit more from you. And he's asking them to be forgiven. Please, he's saying, forgive my servants. Servitors, I already agree that what the punishment you're giving them is okay. However, I'm taking full responsibility. Full responsibility. And because they're already surrendered and they're already negotiating, they're thinking, oh, if we have to go to the material world, somehow we want to get back. We really love it here, so we just want to keep doing our service. So we're going to try to trick the system like Hiranyakashipu, although their mentality is much more pure. Hiranyakashipu, which they were actually an incarnation of as they went into the world, was trying to live forever in this world and be so powerful.